Now, everybody experiences this feeling of being not enough in life, not good enough. And you want to overcome it. You want to fix it. You want to prove yourself. But what you want to also see is that not good enough is something that is always with you, even when you're not triggered. You see, your triggers, like the avoidance of failure, the avoidance of rejection, the feeling of being not good enough, are so powerfully impactful on you that you actually avoid them. And the reason you avoid them is that all triggers are fight or flight reactions that are programmed backwards, where powerful emotions pertaining to your own experience of yourself transform you. And when they transform you, they also cause confusion. It causes this sensation that there's something wrong with you that you need to fix, change, or overcome. That the feeling of not good enough drives people, drives them to get successful, drives them to work out, drives them to acquire things like money, things that are demonstrative of their need to prove that they are good enough to themselves and other people. Because we also interpret these as having something to do with the world outside. And so consider that you're navigating a world that is booby-trapped by the anticipation of your reactions. That your anxiety is the same thing that it would be like if you were walking up to a bear cave. That's you going to a test or a first date or a job interview. That the weight of your own potential reactions is what causes your avoidance. It causes the proverbial can't, I can't, I can't. And when you think that you can't, then you see that there's another trigger there, that you're not enough or you're broken, or there's just something wrong with you. But the something wrong with me is the something wrong here that is the first stage of fight or flight for animals, that has them inspect the outside world. And so start to take a look at the difference between normal emotions that literally have something to do with the outside world, like a birthday cake makes you happy, or something over here makes you sad. You see, emotions were merely meant to contextualize reality. But when we have powerful emotions that define ourselves within reality, we live in a world that looks to us as if it's telling us we're not enough. We call that society says this and society says that. And we walk around in pervasive fear of the thoughts, the feelings, the actions of others. And these powerful triggers come up and they allow us to be manipulated, dominated, controlled, shut down, guilt-tripped. Because when they get activated, it reduces your consciousness in the same way that an animal goes into tunnel vision. You go into tunnel vision around you. Because me is the threat. You being rejected, you being not good enough, you being abandoned, you being worthless, you being unworthy, you being broken, you being abandoned and alone. And so you're always trying to overcome and fix your own emotional states about yourself, and you're trying to build self-esteem. You're trying to get rid of your insecurities. You're trying to stack the deck. You're trying to aspire. And that is something that is hidden from psychology because it's the lens that you see life through, that we just intuitively all can relate to the experience of crushing heartbreak, the feeling of not being able to live without someone else, which is childlike separation anxiety on a neurological loop. A notion of brokenness and something's wrong with me, causing pervasive rumination, where you use your imagination to then trigger yourself by looking at past experiences that triggered you. And so you get stuck in your head, ruminating, trying to get out. And as you try to fight within yourself to discover what's wrong with me, you get yourself stuck. And that's why grieving takes so long for people, because sadness creates the universal experience that something must be wrong with me. That's why when someone else is sad, what do you ask? What's wrong? What's wrong? And so we make sadness wrong. We make happiness good. You think being healed is feeling happy, and there's something wrong with you if you're upset, and then you spend all this time navigating life just trying to fix and change your emotions. And it is so bad that we need therapists so that we can get our needs met, and so that we get triggered in relationships and then we miscommunicate, and that we don't listen and meet each other's needs because we have our own in the way. And because these are survival instincts, we prioritize them. And so because they're so powerful, look at what it does to people. Look what the feeling of failure does, or disappointment. You're so afraid of disappointing people that you don't even want to answer your phone if you've made a mistake, that you feel guilt and shame, and you define yourself in these broken ways, but not because you have limiting beliefs, because you have involuntary reactions that have so been integrated into the living of life that they go totally unquestioned, because it looks to you like it came from over there. And that's why we can be deceived. That's why we get stuck with narcissists, is because we get triggered and feel not enough, and we don't pay attention to reality. Because the emotions tell us. You see, the emotions are what provide context to reality. And so if you experience being broken, it's unquestioned. If you experience being not enough, it's what makes you define everything around you. That when you get triggered and not enough, you look in the mirror and everything looks like it's not enough. And as you get triggered and triggered and triggered, it affects your confidence, your self-esteem. It causes avoidance, because not good enough is a proportional assessment that animals use that causes avoidance and running. That when a rabbit is smaller than a coyote, it's not good enough. It can't fight that, and so it runs away. And so these are fight or flight reactions that are turned in on me, where the threat to you is yourself. You can't get away from yourself. And so that's like taking a coyote and bringing it into captivity, where it stays in pervasive anxiety, being triggered everywhere it looks, because you're triggered everywhere you look. You're always at risk, always at risk of what people think, always at risk of what they might say in social networking, always at risk every time your boss says, come to my office, every time you meet someone. You've always got to try to protect yourself by putting your best foot forward. You don't want to be judged. You don't want to be critiqued. You don't want to be triggered. And you do everything you can to avoid it while they're doing the same thing. You'll be there trying to avoid a rejection. They're going to be trying to avoid a disappointment, because that woman that you're afraid of rejecting you is being nice because she feels pressured, because she can anticipate your reaction, because you're being nice and trying to conceal your anxiety. And so you think that you need her number, or you need some indication that she likes you to make the anxiety go away, so you won't feel the crushing abandonment fear, or you won't feel rejected. Because when you get triggered, since it defines you, you become it. You become not good enough. And then the words merely describe the experience, and you're always fighting these by thinking. You need positive thoughts. You need belief. You need validation. You need encouragement. You need somebody to believe in you, somebody to give you a chance, because of how difficult life is made by these reactions causing the fulfillment of themselves. That the avoidance of failure causes failure by having you procrastinate and avoid and get nervous and choke and not be able to think and be creative, not even having fun doing the things you love. You become afraid of love and being hurt, being abandoned, being taken advantage of, being used, being negated, being invisible. That you're so afraid of these reactions that you hide from life, thinking it's men, thinking it's women. But you see, the reason why you don't know what's going on, the reason why you try to analyze and figure it out, is because you're always in anxiety and stress, and that you just don't trust. And you don't trust because you can't tell anything. You don't know who's who. You throw the baby out the bathwater because your rejection fears, they apply to everybody. And if you're going to relate to everybody as a potential villain, you can't tell them apart because you're only looking through the lens of your own feelings of yourself, and that's how you get love bombed and manipulated. And so you create even higher expectations after you got the last discard in order to feel safe. And that dude that's a people pleaser had the same thing. He's not going to love bomb you because he doesn't want to jump in and get destroyed. And so you actually avoid acknowledgement and pursue validation.